Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In today's video, we're going to continue on with our What is in the Box series. And in today's What's in the Box, we're going to be looking at the Plastic Soldier Company's late war German infantry, 1943 to 45. This is a set of 15mm miniatures. Plastic Soldier make pretty much three scales, 15, 20, and 28mm, for a game that they publish called Battle Group. So these miniatures will be great for that. And it says you get 130 figures. Let's flip it over and take a look at the box back. Okay, this is one of the few boxes that has a window into their reality, so you can see into their soul and see what kind of figures are in the box. But one thing I do love about the Plastic Soldier Company's box sets is that they have like a simplified painting guide on the back. They tell you all the Vallejo paints that you would need to paint these figures in the box, and they give you kind of a recommended, like if you're painting flesh, use flat flesh. The uniform, use German uniform, or and green gray. Helmet is green ochre and olive green and mahogany, and basically it explains all the different colors that you would use to paint these figures. This game Battle Group is not a multi-stand or multi-figure base like Flames of War. They're individually based, but they leave it up to you to decide if you want to put multiple figures on a base like Flames of War, because you can. There's no problem doing that at all. Or you can individually mount them. At 15mm, I personally prefer the multi-basing, and at the 28mm, I prefer the individually based. But it just depends on how big your games are, etc. And we don't need to go into rules for Battle Group. All right, now it says you get 10 junior officers and NCOs. You get 90 grenadiers. Notice I use my finger quotes. And you get 15 light machine gun teams. Okay, these are late war figures. They're also considered grenadiers, but they're not Panzer grenadiers. They're not SS grenadiers. They are your Heer troops. So these are the guys that might be in a Luftwaffe division. They might be just in an infantry division. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull them out of the box and take a gander at what you get. Okay, there's a lot of sprues and a little instruction manual. Okay, so this instruction manual is very basic. It's single-sided. There's nothing on the back side. And it basically just says, gently wash your sprues in warm water. Okay, now one reason, and with detergent, one reason why you want to do that is any figures that come out of a mold, which is like 99.9% of your miniatures, unless you laser or unless you 3D print them, if they come out of a mold, there's usually a powder or a film on the mold that when the plastic or resin or whatever is being injected into the mold, it won't stick to the mold when they separate the mold and pull the figures out. Most of the time, that mold release is actually still on the plastic. So when you go to paint the models, if you did not wash that mold release off first, and sometimes it's indistinguishable So, or it's invisible. So wash them anyway. Even if you think they're clean, they might not be. They might be, but they might not be. So go ahead and wash them. And that way, when you prime them and you paint them and you take, painstaking efforts to paint them, your paint will stick to the plastic and it won't fall off because of the mold release still being on the model, taking the paint right off. And they suggest that. Sorry, I've got a little lesson there. Cut the parts from the sprues, glue the figures with polystyrene glue, and then paint. They recommend Vallejo. Okay. Well, that's pretty obvious because all the paints they recommend here is Vallejo. And as you can see, I use quite a bit of Vallejo. I think I've got a few over here too. There's some more paints, but there's some Vallejo, Okay, now all these sprues are, I've already looked at them. Oh, wait, this one sprue might be a little different. Let's take a look. Okay, all of these sprues are the same. Yep, okay, every sprue is exactly the same. There are 5 sprues. What we'll do is, I'll just quickly go over the sprue, and then what we'll do is we'll zoom it in so you can see exactly what the models look like. From first impression, just a casual first impression of these figures they are slightly smaller, like maybe 13 millimeter. They seem to be slightly smaller, or maybe maybe they're thinner and they don't have as much bulk as some of the other models, like their Grenadiers or like Battlefront makes a line of 15 millimeters for a game called Flames of War, and those figures tend to be a little bit on the chunky side, and these particular models do not. Now, Plastic Soldier makes other German figures. They make the German Normandy Grenadiers, and those figures are very chunky, and they are on par with the Flames of War figures. They also make an American line of riflemen, and I found that those figures are on the thin side as well. So maybe they've gone through a design philosophy change, or maybe they had 2 different sculptors or something, but these seem to be on the thin side. Also, just by glancing at the models, you'll notice their figure bases are not round. Okay, they are oval shape, or I should say pill shaped. The models that I've noticed, and this is just a casual observation that I've noticed from Plastic Soldier, is their figures that have the round bases that fit inside these Flames of War bases. When they have these round bases that would naturally fit in a Flames of War figure base, they all tend to be about the same size as the Flames of War models, which is convenient because they're all pretty much on line with each other. Now, if I cut this rifleman out on there, I still could use this figure in that base. His little foot base would still fit inside this. It just wouldn't be round and it wouldn't fill up this hole. So there would be gaps on the sides where I might need to fill it with putty or some kind of gap filler. Now, another thing, this game, I think I mentioned it earlier, this game that this is designed for is called Battle Group, and Battle Group is at its heart it's a man-to-man game. So you would be basing these figures on individual bases anyway, but I prefer to base them in squads or fire teams so that it would be easier to move them on the table. Since they have to stay within they have to stay inside of a range of their leader anyway, why not just put them all on a base? Okay, enough of that. Okay, so we talked about my first impressions. Now, there is a machine gunner in the prone right here. He's got a machine gun with a bipod. And then this right arm right there is a machine gun over the shoulder. So this must be, and there are some figures here that are missing their right arm. This one would go on that right arm. So there's a second machine gunner. Okay, down here I could have swore right there. This arm right here is also a machine gun thrown over the arm. I think this arm and that arm are exactly the same. So, and those are the only machine guns I see on the sprue. So you're looking at 3 machine guns, and like there's the guy in the prone with ammo being fed into that machine gun. There's a guy right there walking with ammo cans in his hand. This guy here has ammo cans in his hand. So if you look at these machine gunners, every one of them is got a gunner and an ammo bearer. And there's 3 per sprue. There's 5 sprues, meaning there's 15 machine guns. And this says 15 machine gun teams. It's just that you only get 5 of them that are prone, being actively deployed in use. I noticed that in this set, you get a lot of guys firing. Kneeling firing, standing firing. Like there's kneeling, standing, standing, standing. Okay, and this guy has a rifle firing, but it's only the upper torso. So I have a feeling that he glues on to this torso, but I could be wrong. I'm going to have to look at the instructions because, yeah, I do believe that's the case. This guy here has 2 halves. Yeah, you glue 2 halves together on this guy, and then you would put a radio on his back. So in this set, you get 5 guys with radio. That's pretty good. And then, of course, you get your NCOs. You get a ton of them. I don't see, like, any Panzerfausts. There's none of those. There's no Panzer Shreks. There's no mortars. This is just the regular line infantry guys. The machine gunners, the radio, the officers, and all the riflemen. A couple of guys like this guy and this guy look like they are throwing potato mashers. These guys, oh, and there is a mixture of soft caps and helmets amongst everybody. So you just basically have to decide. Now I don't see any camo smocks. I just basically see their field gray uniforms. And again, you could paint these guys up as Luftwaffe, or you could paint them up as infantry. All right, so let's go ahead and pull these guys. Okay, well, how many figures do you get on a sprue? I'm just curious before we get going. And I'm going to count torsos. 1, the rest of these are arms. Okay, so 26 times 5. 130. Perfect. 5 radio man, 15 machine guns, 5 deployed, 5 moving. a few officers, and some of these are, almost all these arms are rifles, but I do see an MP40, and I do see a couple of heads. I'm not sure where those heads would go. Well, then again, this loader doesn't have a head, and this machine gunner doesn't have a head. So that's probably where those heads go. Oh, there's an MP40 right there. Okay, so there's a few, and there's an MP40 down there. So there's a few loose MP40s and mostly rifles. All right, let's take a close-up look at one of these sprues so you can see exactly what you get. All right, well, I just pulled one of the sprues up, and I noticed there was some writing on the side here, and it says the Plastic Soldier Company. Okay, well, that's good. All right, let's take a gander at some of this stuff. What are we looking at? We're looking at a machine gun over the shoulder, MP40. This guy's got his MP40, but he's reaching out with his hand. Now, some of these guys have helmet covers, and this looks like this guy has a helmet cover. Okay, this guy, I think this guy goes on there, but yeah, I think it does. He's shooting. There's an MP40. There's the two heads that obviously go on the machine gunner. That's the radio. And we'll get the backside of this sprue as well. These are the two halves of the radio man. There's the prone machine gun and his ammo bearer. This is the... There you go, down here. There you go. There's the extra ammo cans. There's another leader with MP40. There's the potato masher. You notice how thin that potato masher looks? It looks super thin. That guy's got a gigantic magazine, so I'm thinking he's probably got an MP40. This guy does have the ammo belts draped over his shoulder. These guys, there's a couple of them. These two outer guys right there look like they got their hands on their webbing. Okay, this guy doesn't have he doesn't even have any hands. Hold on. Okay, his hands are on his webbing. This guy doesn't have any hands. So that's probably where this MP40 goes, probably in his hands. He's missing his right arm, so he's probably carrying that machine gun. Now, we'll get around to the backside of these guys, but I think they have some backpacks on. Okay, so now this guy's got a little bit of flash on him, but what do you expect from a plastic model? You would expect a little bit of flash, just clean it up. Okay, so far I haven't noticed any soft caps until just now. This guy looks like he's got a soft cap on. He looks like he's on the move, but he doesn't have any arms. And this guy looks like he's got two arms that are super close. The hands are cut off. So he's probably going to be using this machine gun right there. This guy might be using the deployed machine gun, or this guy. But this guy looks like he's got a map case and a soft cap. I would assume he would be an officer. Okay. This guy's kind of just squatting. These guys have their... Like one guy's got a soft cap, one guy's got a helmet. And you'll notice that some of these guys have helmets with covers on them. And some people have helmets that would just be, metal. Because I do a lot of late war stuff. Even though these are late war German infantry. But I personally do a lot of late war stuff. So I would paint them up with like Normandy camouflage, or maybe even... just different types of splintered or blotches. Okay, and then there's the last row, which has quite a few weapon systems. And the instructions should tell you where they go. This guy looks like he's firing on the end. It looks like it would be up on his cheek. These guys look like they would just be moving. He looks like he would be firing as well. Okay, let's take a look at the backside of them. Starting at the top, they got the heads. Woo, you can't see anything. Okay, there we go. Got the heads, the arm, the split of that guy firing, and the machine gun over the shoulder. And then two halves of the radio man, machine gunner. This is all under, that would be his underbelly. And see, this guy's got his hands on his gear, so it looks like he's got a little extra gear on his back. And specifically, this guy looks like he's got a backpack on of some kind. I'm not sure what that would be. It doesn't look like a radio. I would just have to do some research on that. This guy's a leader. They got a lot of gear. There's the guy throwing a grenade. Soft cap and helmet and shooting. Arms missing on some of these, but that's because... Okay, now what is that? Oh, that's the ammo cans for the machine gun. He's carrying. A lot of guys shooting. I noticed they got a roll on their back. That's probably their camo smock. They also have bread bags, canteens. They've got, what is it called? A mess kit and a gas mask canister. They've got it all. Wait, one thing I haven't noticed is an entrenching tool. Yep, looks like we got entrenching tools on there as well. So yeah, they got their full kit. And then there's those two weapons. Okay. All right, it looks pretty good. If I was to put, I'm trying to do my math right now. What do we say we got on there? 26 figures on a sprue. 3 of them are machine guns. So that's 6 figures. So then there would be 20 other figures that are either riflemen or NCOs. So that'd be another 4 bases. Hold on. Because if I do a 3-figure... Okay, if I do 8 figures on like 2 4s, that would be 8 figures. And then 2 more figures. Okay, hold on. I'm distracting myself. Okay, 8 figures times 4 is 30 something. Okay, so 8 times 3 is 24. So there'd be a couple extra figures. So 8 times 3, so that's 3 squads, right? 3 squads. Each squad would have a machine gun, and that would be 3 squads of 2 bases each. That would be a platoon, and then I could, the 2 remaining figures I could make as the platoon commanders. I'm just trying to, that's might or might not be how I would do it. But I could give them a radio and an officer, and that would be the platoon leader. And then I would be looking at each of these sprues would be an infantry platoon. And this comes with 5 sprues. So you just got 5 platoons in this box. That's pretty good. All right, guys. All right, guys. Thanks for coming out and checking out the late war German infantry by Plastic Soldier Company. And looks like you're going to get about 5 platoons of grenadiers, complete with a machine gun in every squad. All right, thanks, and I'll catch you in my next video.